This is a small informal group, and I don't have much of a role today. The students are taking over and doing a short presentation on how essentially, I think all of you last year when we went through some similar state of the school presentation. But I think unbeknownst to me, Kathy and Mark and others have sort of arranged this retrospective on state of the school over the last 10 years that I was dean. So I was happy to hear about it. I haven't sort of seen any of the presentations yet, so I'm looking forward to that. But with that, I'm going to pass it on to our students, Zeno and Catherine. Zeno is an undergraduate student. Catherine is a Master's of Public Policy student, and they are going to walk you through their presentation.
Good morning, board members. My name is Zeno Marganian, and I am a second-year undergraduate public policy student and Dean's Ambassador. And it is my honor to be here today with you.
And good morning, board members. My name is Catherine Wren. I'm a first-year MPP student and brand ambassador, and it is lovely to be here with you today. Thank you, Dean Gillalakar. I'm excited to co-MC today's event alongside my fellow Dean's Ambassador, Zeno. As you all know, Dean Gillalakar is stepping down from his post as founding dean of the UCR School of Public Policy after 10 years. As such, this will be his last advisory board meeting in his capacity as dean. He traditionally presents the annual report to the board, but this year we thought we'd give him a bit of a break. Over the next half hour, excuse me, Zeno and I will provide a retrospective on the last 10 years since the school's establishment under Dean Gillalakar's able leadership.
It is important for us to first understand how we got to where we are now. We've had so many milestones with undoubtedly many more to come. As you recall, or as you may recall, public policy at UCR had its humble beginnings in 2006, when then Professor Gillalakar established the public policy major in the College of Arts, or Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. It quickly grew to become one of the more popular programs on campus, which ultimately led in 2012 to the establishment of the School of Public Policy. Just a year later, Professor Gillalakar was named the founding dean of the school. Then after a few years of the ramping up of faculty and staff, the school launched in 2015 the Master of Public Policy program. The inaugural cohort of the MPP program graduated in 2017, and as of June this year, we will see our 6th ever cohort of MPP candidates graduate from UCR. You might recall that I mentioned earlier that the public policy major was initially established in Chas in the absence of a School of Public Policy, then at UCR. In 2018, that major transferred over and welcomed hundreds of more students to the school. Fast forward a few years later, and we are about to launch our new combined BA and MPP program this fall. And with a new dean on the horizon, we look forward to more degree offerings by the SPP.
For such a small school with such a short history, we have already begun leaving an indelible mark in the realm of public policy education. We are ranked among the top 25% of public policy schools globally as of March 2022, ahead of Texas A&M and University of Pennsylvania by a scholarly ranking of policy programs. We are also ranked in the top 30% of best public affairs schools in 2023 by US News and World Report.
Growth is an important factor in the success of any organization. And through the next few slides, we are going to take a look at how much we have grown since our school's establishment. The first area of growth we'll look at is our faculty size. We have grown our faculty ranks immensely since 2013, when we only had 2 faculty members in the SPP. Now we have 18 faculty members, with a few holding joint appointments in other colleges and schools.
The SPP faculty are notable for their scholarly output. Since the school's inception, our faculty members have altogether published a grand total of 365 journal articles and 14 books. It's quite an impressive set of numbers considering we only have 8 faculty members. In addition, our school stands out for its extraordinarily high cumulative citation count at about 10,000 citations per faculty member. This is an extraordinarily high number that reflects the profound research impact of our faculty's scholarly work. And it has been lovely as a first-year MPP student to learn so much from these established faculty, one being Dr. Schwabe, who is here today.
Now, let's move on to our staff. We see a similar trajectory in the growth of our staff ranks. In 2013, we had just 7 staff members, and that has expanded now to 23, which includes various staff at our vibrant research centers, such as the Robert Presley Center of Crime and Justice Studies, the Center for Social Innovation, and the Inland Center for Sustainable Development. It has been an extraordinary opportunity to have staff available to work with me, such as academic advisors, to work through things such as academic planning.
As you can see in this slide, student enrollment in the School of Public Policy has grown considerably since the launch of our MPP program in 2015 and the transfer of the undergraduate program in 2018. We went from fewer than 30 students in 2015 to now more than 350 in 2022. We are confident that our enrollment numbers will continue to grow in the coming years.
Diversity, as you all know, is of essential value to our university, with UCR striving always to be the leader in diversity, equity, and inclusion. The School of Public Policy, as you can see in the chart, has outperformed the campus average in terms of the diversity of the graduate student body, whether it's the proportion of female students, the percentage of underrepresented minority students, or the proportion of female and underrepresented minority students.
And it has been great, along with Zeno, to learn from such a diverse set of peers amongst the knowledge I'm gaining in the classroom. On the undergraduate side, we also see this trend of the SPP outperforming the UCR average. Since the majors transfer from CHAS in 2018, we have boasted a large population of female, underrepresented, and first-generation undergraduate students. With social justice issues at the forefront of the minds of young people, it is no wonder that many students gravitate to the public policy major. Students are also excited by the SPP's mission to identify creative policy solutions to the state's, the nation's, and the world's most pressing social challenges.
And as Catherine mentioned, in undergraduate diversity, coming from a community in a town that is not very diverse, it is an extreme opportunity to have a classroom environment and a public policy environment that is filled with so many diverse people from diverse backgrounds and diverse experiences. As of 2021, we have conferred degrees to 347 public policy students, all of whom are now a part of an ever-growing and vibrant alumni network. We can lay claim to 75 MPP alumni and 247 undergraduate alumni. We are looking forward and working hard to cultivate these alumni relationships and continuing to grow our alumni base in the years to come.
When we started out in 2014, our annual budget was just under $3 million. Now we are above $30 million in 2022. This total budget includes all fund sources, including but not limited to general funds, gift funds, contracts and grants, and professional degree supplemental tuition fees. Given that we only have a $5 million permanent budget from the state, this is phenomenal growth for a young and small school like ours.
And looking at our modest beginnings in terms of garnering research funding awards, we've made a significant leap from the $1.5 million we had in 2016 to the over $3 million now in 2022. And since our inception, we have generated a total of over $18 million in research awards from federal, state, and private funders.
Another area of growth, as we can see here, is our fundraising efforts. We began in 2015 with under $900,000. Fast forward to today, and we have raised more than $2 million for the School of Public Policy in 2022. Our fundraising has increased roughly by 50% in the last 10 years. And since the SPP's launch, we have raised a grand total of more than $10 million. This year has been the most successful fundraising year we've had for student support. Notably, we created 5 new endowed scholarships and graduate fellowships through donor support, which ensure a strong foundation of ongoing support for our students now and in the future. The UCR School of Public Policy would like to give a special thanks to advisory board members, Michael Sullivan, who could not be here with us today, and Michael Huerta, who could be with us here today. On behalf of students, we are incredibly grateful for your support. Thank you.
We'd also like to highlight the UCR Living the Promise campaign, which ran from 2013 to 2020 and raised more than $312 million for the entire UCR campus. Our goal for the School of Public Policy for this campaign was a modest $4 million. But as you can see, we outperformed even our own expectations by raising nearly double that.
The things that impressed me the most about Anil were his vision for the school, his kindness as a human being, and his sincere desire to make students' lives better.
The dean has created an environment in the School of Public Policy for students to thrive, whether that be maintaining communication with students through town halls, communicating with student leaders in student organizations and student government. He has created a space for students to be heard, for students to be creative, and for students to be successful in the realm of public policy.
The dean has really just made it a mission of his to get to know the students at the school and to make them feel included and seen.
When I was a student there, he invited so many people to come speak to us, and it allowed us to see what we can do for ourselves after we left.
He's so invested in his students and how they're doing right now, if they need any help, any encouragement, how he personally can help them, any connections, and he has impacted my life so much and countless others, and I am forever grateful to him for that.
We have so much to be proud of at the UCR School of Public Policy as we look back on these past 10 years. Dean Gillalakar, all of these accomplishments happened under your watch. You deserve a great deal of credit for your leadership during these past 10 years. All right, and now we will go on to the Q&A.
So that concludes our formal presentation. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And then, like Catherine said, at this time, we will open it up for questions and comments from the board. So thank you.
I would like to go to the slide, which is on the timeline of the school. Is there a way to
Yeah, don't we all wish?
timeline, the original, I think the first. Yes. So before we go to the Q&A, I just want to to make a mention of a couple of things. In this long history here, many of you, our board members, have been part and parcel of this. And I just wanted to highlight this because perhaps some of the students might not be aware of it, and maybe not even Kurt. But back in 2006, when I established the public policy major in JAS, one of the first outside lecturers to come and give a talk to our undergraduate students was Greg Stepanasic. That was, I think, 2007. So that's 15 years ago. And at the same time, Michael Sullivan, whom we'll be meeting, some of us will be seeing him today. We are going on his yacht. Michael Sullivan also came out in 2007 to give a talk. And so both Greg and Michael's association dates back to even before the school was established. And we have sort of managed to keep in touch with both of them over this period. And then very shortly after the school was established, I think even a little bit before, in 2012, I remember visiting Michael, his government office in the Federal Aviation Authority. And it was at that time that I asked him, we were setting up the new school, and I said, would you be willing to be a founding board member of the school? And Michael Huerta was very much interested in that and said, yes, absolutely. Let me check with the ethics folks here, if that's okay. And he had to go and check with, those were the days before 2016. So everyone took ethics seriously in the federal government. But it's been a but it's sort of been a pleasure having you associated right from the start with the school, Michael. And then, of course, I think very soon after, around that time when the school was established in 2014, I approached Greg Devereaux, who was at that time the CEO of San Bernardino County. You were still the CEO, right? You didn't step down until much later. And we had a meeting with him. Tony Lawrence, who's there, and I came and met with him in his office in San Bernardino. And we asked if you could serve as the as a founding board member of the school, and you sort of were very happy to do that. And so we have really enjoyed and benefited from all that you have given to the school since then. And then fast forward a couple of years when we established the Master of Public Policy program. And of course, our founding student member, a part of the founding initial cohort of the MPP program was Jesse Melgar, who's now one of our most illustrious alumni of the school. So and I completely forgot about Lloyd, who has been, actually we have somehow when I started with Greg, I moved that way. But Lloyd also, I think we approached, Tony and I visited you before the school was established. I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was 2011 or 12. And that's when I asked Lloyd if he would be willing to get associated with this founding board member. And Lloyd has given generously of his time over that period. We even almost sort of were going to establish a new center. We did establish a new center of technology, digital technology in the school, thanks to Lloyd, because at that time he was quite intimately involved with the California Emerging Technologies Fund, CETF. And so many of you here have been with the school right from its start, or even before it starts. So I'm grateful to you for that. And some of our faculty. Kurt was one of the people I brainstormed with even before 2006, I think 2005 or 4. And we were just musing about the possibility of setting up a School of Public Policy here at UCR. And so Kurt was a faculty member in the Department of Environmental Sciences, with whom I sort of used to regularly converse. And so, of course, when we established the school, he was one of the handful of faculty members who immediately moved their appointments to the school, and so that we have a title for you as well. He was one of our founding faculty members.
Second best decision ever.
So all of you have been really intimately involved, and Sally as well. She joined us a little bit late, but I had the pleasure of working with Sally as my CFAO when I was interim dean of the School of Business back in 2007-8, and I always have my eye on Sally at that time, thanks to her excellent leadership abilities and her great management skills. And so I think it was about 3 years ago that she joined us as CFAO. And then, of course, Tony Lawrence was our founding development director when we started, and she left for a she was promoted to a vice chancellor position in Australia, and she felt very bad about moving from the School of Public Policy. But I told her these kind of opportunities come once in a lifetime, and so you should go. And then, of course, Kathy stepped in, and Kathy has been amazing. I mean, our fundraising in the school has just gone to a new level once Kathy has come in. She's just so good with donors, with funders, with the faculty, with students. So it's been amazing. So I feel lucky that we have so many of you, such great people have touched the school's life. And I think that's one reason for the success of the school. And then, of course, in addition, we have had amazing students. Students like Zeno, Catherine, and of course, Jesse set the trend by being one of our first students in the school. Anyway, that's a long-winded story. But if there are any questions, maybe the students can address them, or I can. Everything you've done is not just a step. Thank you, Lloyd. That means a lot. And to be frank, when the time came for me to step down, I had initially thought when I took over this job that I would do one term and then I would step down, because I do think that the success of an organization really depends on whether it can transition beyond the founding person. And if it cannot, then the organization is not sustainable in the long term. And when after 5 years had passed, I sort of went to the provost. She said, "Oh, you need to stay longer. And I said, yes, I think I had originally thought I would step down after 5 years, but I think it would, we have done a lot in the first 5 years, but probably I need a few more years. And so last year when we reevaluated as my 10-year term was coming to a close, I said, now I'm really completely confident that the school is in a great position to not only continue on, but actually flourish and go to the next level. And so I didn't make this decision lightly. I sort of really looked at everything in the school, the amazing faculty we have, the staff we have, the students we have, the infrastructure we have established. It's really poised for growth. And so I have no hesitation. And now we discover that, we have some really incredible dean candidates that we are in the process of interviewing, who I'm sure will be able to not only continue taking the school forward, but grow it to the next level. So, but thank you so much, Lloyd. It's been the thrill of a lifetime to sort of be associated with all of you and to see the school grow over these last 10 years. Perfect. Any other questions on what the students have presented?
Yes, so accidentally, we had saved the video even for ourselves as well as kind of a little surprise, because we wanted to be able to see what some of these former students and people have said. But that being said, we accidentally stopped the video halfway through. So just very quickly, we are going to go back to this.
The things that impressed me the most about Anil were his vision for the school, his kindness as a human being, and his sincere desire to make students' lives better.
The dean has created an environment in the school public policy for students to thrive, whether that be maintaining communication with students through town halls, communicating with student leaders in student organizations and student government. He has created the space for students to be heard, for students to be creative, and for students to be successful in the realm of public policy.
The dean has really just made it a mission of his to get to know the students at the school and to make them feel included and seen.
When I was a student there, he invited so many people to come speak to us. It allowed us to see what we can do for ourselves after we left.
He's so invested in his students and how they're doing right now, if they need any help, any encouragement, how he personally can help them, any connections, and he has impacted my life so much and countless others, and I am forever grateful to him for that.
I personally am appreciative for your dedication and your outward look to the community as well, and working with jurisdictions and leaders to find places for your students to land. And I think that's been a real special part of what makes you you.
The Inland Economic Growth Opportunities, a partnership with Brookings, a planning effort across both counties, a almost historic first, and always valued the steady hand guidance of inspiration that Gillalakar brought to this first of its kind regional planning effort.
What affected me the most as a co-executive director of the Robert Presley Institute was his idea of bringing together all of these leaders in the Inland Empire, elected district attorneys, elected sheriffs, police chiefs, legislators, judges, as an advisory board to us as we go down the path of legal research regarding issues that impact us on a daily basis.
The thing that I think of most is the positive work culture you create. There's your infectious personality, there's the way you look out for each one of us on big things and on little things, and then how you attend to all the issues that affect us and championing us with the rest of the university.
Regardless of your position in the school, Anil has always made an effort to get to know each person on an individual basis.
It's how he's created the culture here in the school that makes this place just such a wonderful school to be in terms of interacting between faculty and staff and students, contributes to the learning environment, makes it a wonderful workplace.
I've learned a lot from Anil just watching him. His compassionate leadership, his desire to make the School of Public Policy the best, his commitment to the faculty, the staff, the students, his desire to ensure that not only was the School of Public Policy a great place to work, but also a very inclusive environment. Congratulations on your next adventure and reaching this important milestone in your career.
All right. Well, thank you, Dean Gillalakar. At this point, we are delighted to now bring up to the podium our very own Associate Dean, Kurt Schwabe, who will now present some of his recent policy research.
Yeah, let me set that down if I need to take it. That'd be great. Yeah, okay, all right. Should break in the song. Thank you everyone for showing up and the advisory board members. Thanks for all your efforts and support over the years. It's certainly been a pleasure being part of the school and seeing and learning from the management style Anil has conveyed to and practiced. We certainly punch above our weight, right? And I think every element of our program punches above its weight. Our faculty are incredibly successful. I mean, those Google Scholar scores, the grants per faculty member, the publications, the impact, it is really impressive, that hallway that I'm on. And I'm below average. I do okay, but I am, it is, and then I have no problem saying that. It is, I was just so elated when I look down and see the colleagues I have and the ability to interact with students and exchange information with them. And to the students that he's brought in the program, they're incredible. I've never been in a more rewarding program in my 25 years. The students, they're so civic engaged, they're passionate. They have these amazing lived experiences that complement us and complement the faculty in that sense. And the staff, I don't know how you retain the staff that we have. They want to, the rest of the school wants to poach our staff. And somehow Anil keeps the staff here and keeps this amazing faculty and the students here. And I think it gets back to this idea, and I'll get to my lesser important research, but it gets to the point of the environment. And there was an undergraduate review, a 5-year review that we just did. And the outside, the faculty that came from different institutions said they've never seen a program that had such respect among the faculty and staff and the students as they have in our program. And that starts from the top. And when the search committee for our new dean came in and said, what do you want as a leader? We said, we want someone like this, right? We want someone who shows respect and empathy. And he's a darn good economist, right? Sometimes we forget about that, but when you're in seminars, it's just, but we want someone that has so much respect for and empathy for other people. And that it's just tough to find that in a really good leader. So anyways, thank you, Anil. Okay, moving on. Let's see here. There we go. No, down. Okay. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on just some research that I'm doing, but also more so I'm interested in kind of maybe getting your feedback. If not now, maybe a chance to think about this issue called the Salton Sea. And every couple of years, we host a summit down at the Palm Desert campus. And in hosting that summit, we bring together a lot of different people. And I want to get your feedback on that, either now or in the future, about what's the best way to engage. And there needs to be more engagement, and there needs to be more systematic activities and investments in it. And anyway, so I'll talk a bit about this. It's a complex issue if you're not aware of it. It's everything you can think of is happening down there in terms of you've got water issues, you've got pollution issues, you've got energy issues, you've got health disparity issues, you've got equity issues, agricultural issues. This is from a task force report that I was part of that came out of the Salton Sea Task Force at UC Riverside, and I can get you that report in full if you want it. But it lays out kind of all the major issues, and what you typically find that the science, understand the science is way behind policy right now, and so from an economist and policy person's perspective, I'm thinking we're making policy on information that's really outdated. And I worry about our return on investment and the lives that are going to be impacted by poor policy in that sense. But the Salton Sea, if you don't know, it's the largest lake in California by surface area, world-renowned birding site, or it was. It was the most productive fishery in the country back in the 60s and 70s. What it's mostly known for and how water rights have impacted it is it's a reservoir for irrigation drainage water. If anyone knows Art Littleworth within Riverside, probably one of the best water lawyers ever, certainly in California. And unfortunately, that has played the major role in terms of what's happening to it now, is it just doesn't have a water right. And it's a public health crisis. It has some of the highest asthma rates and lowest poverty rates in California. It's an ecological disaster. Pretty much within the next 5 or 10 years, you're going to lose all the fish and then all the bird-eating fish, and you will never see another brown pelican down there. And there used to be abundant. And then in another 5 years after that, you're going to lose all the other birds around there because it's just too saline. And it's the largest undeveloped reserves of geothermal and lithium in the world. And this is what's giving it a lot of attention right now. And significant financial opportunities. There's certainly climate benefits with transitioning to lithium batteries. The locals down there are worried about what are the environmental externalities, because there hasn't been good messaging on that. And can they get some of those co-benefits? There's a lot of money being made. Can money go back into the communities besides just jobs? Right? They're saying, listen, this is in our backyard. We've had to deal with this pollution and poor air quality for a long time. Can we get some of these benefits? And unfortunately, the messaging isn't so good right now, and they're worried. They're not getting any type of reassurance that they're going to benefit from this. Right? So we held the Salton Sea Summit on April 5th through the 7th, 2022. I was co-hosted by the Pacific Institute this year with us. We toured lithium fields and geothermal production. We helped put on 2 community events with Alianza Coachella Valley, one at the Salton Sea Recreation Site, and one at the Palm Desert Campus, the PDC. It was hosted by the Assistant Secretary of Equity and Environmental Justice, Moses Marino Rivera. We had 2 days of panel sessions, basically mostly the science, and we had keynotes and special speakers, Congressman Raul Ruiz, Assemblymember Garcia, Chairman Thomas Tortas. We had a video from Barbara Boxer, and then Assistant Secretary of Natural Resources was a keynote as well. And we had sessions on hydrology, ecology, air quality, public health, lithium, community development, imports and long-range planning, local projects and policy. And there was basically 200 people per day, 2-day conference. We had 150 people remote in. We also had 2 satellite areas, so people who might have a hard time getting into the Palm Desert campus. We had one in Imperial Valley College, so we set up a site there that they could watch the live stream with other people. And then also at the Coachella Valley, they could go there, and there was a room there that was live streaming it so that it's hard to get to the Palm Desert campus. It was in English and Spanish, the live stream, and most of our slide speakers, we asked them to put the text in Spanish as well when it was convenient and when they could do it. So the community down there, it's important for the communities that we want to reach out to. It's free to the public so far. We've always offered all 3 programs have been free to the public. Local, state, federal, tribal leaders attend, academics, industry, public and environmental social justice groups attend. We think it's a success, it's growing, and there's a huge demand for it. And so we're in discussions with some electeds and some other committees around California agencies about how can we, rather than think of this as an afterthought, how can we make this a more permanent investment because the need is there. I've been working on Salton Sea issues since the late 90s, early 2000s, looking at the role of science, looking at hydroeconomic analyses. Mostly I dealt with kind of this relationship between water and ag, and then the runoff from the ag. If you weren't aware of that, most of the Salton Sea has been maintained by runoff from agriculture. So 80 to 90% of the water coming in. And over time, it just reached an equilibrium with the evaporation rate. So that's how it stayed steady. And then California was taking more of its 4.4 million acre feet from the Colorado River for many years. And then Arizona and Nevada said, we want to start taking our full share. Arizona said, we want to even take our share. Maybe we won't use it, but we'll start filling our groundwater basins. And in that sense, California was asked to reduce its take of Colorado River water from 5.2 down to 4.4 million acre feet. And unfortunately, in doing so, what they decided, it was a big issue, because one of the issues that everyone knew was going to happen was that once you start taking water away from California, reducing its, who's going to take that cut? And San Diego had the least secure water rights, but they're not going to take the cut, right? So the cut's going to come from agriculture, right? They use most of the water out of the 4.4 million acre feet. Agriculture gets 3.1 million acre feet, right? So that's where you go for the water. And so there was an agreement that Imperial Irrigation District was going to transfer a certain amount of water to San Diego in a long-term 75-year contract. And the state recognized back in 2003, when this would happen, that the sea would recede. And when the sea recedes, there would be all these environmental damages starting, and there would be exposed playa, which is really toxic, because over years you get pesticides and pollution runoff all building up, and now that's going to be exposed. And you've got these winds whipping through, it's going to pick it up, and they're worried about the increase in asthma rates, and also now they're finding that the particles that's attached to the sediments are toxic, and it's affecting not only traditionally the asthma, but it's also has effects on cognitive function as well. And well, they realized that, listen, it's going to take some time to mitigate that decreasing sea. So we're going to give you 17 years, the state 17 years, to backfill any type of problems that occur. Well, pretty much nothing occurred over those 17 years. And in 2016, the State Water Resources Control Board had the decision. So over that time period, they allowed some additional water to go into the sea to cover the water that they were transferring to San Diego. And then in start of 2018, January 1st, they had that mitigation water that was supposed to backfill, keep the sea from going down. They had this decision. It's a really fascinating and sad decision. Do we keep that water going to the Salton Sea until we actually start to get some mitigation activity going? Or do we stop it? Because that's the original contract. And they ended up stopping it. And now you see this precipitous decline in the sea. And it's an interesting choice, right? Anyway, so that's what's happening. And the sea's decreasing quite a bit. The playa is expanding. The state's behind in terms of what it's supposed to be doing. It has picked up its game quite a bit, but it's still, it's behind. And is there anything else I want? And now lithium. Lithium is there. And it's just that's the big focus, and it's getting a lot of attention. Anyways, it's been something that I've been focusing on a while. The UCR developed the Salton Sea Task Force. It was directed by Marilyn Fogel, a National Academy of Sciences member. Unfortunately, she just passed away 2 days ago. And so in many ways, she's an amazing scientist, amazing human being. And so we have this task force here that's been around for about 5 years also. And it was mostly natural scientists. I was the only social scientist on it. And we're trying to think about what should be the role of that task force now. Should it just, mainly it was just the science at first, right? The ecology, the hydrology. But there's such bigger demands now in the region for more community engagement, more health research, more policy research, more economic research. And there's really no one doing that in any systematic way. It's like this opening there, right? Anyways, I've written up on a lot of different things in terms of net benefits, the health issues, the import from the Gulf of California. There's a group that wants to build a pipeline from the Gulf of California and pump water into the Salton Sea from there. And so, rather than go into specifics of my research, I just kind of wanted to present the problem to you all, and then ask two questions. And maybe the answer is not right now, but maybe in the future, if you think of some ideas, it'd be great to hear from you. What role does SPP and UCR play in continuing to inform policy down there? And what role do we play in community outreach and engagement? And this is a huge issue now.
right? I mean, the California Department of Natural Resources now actually has an assistant secretary of equity and environmental justice. That was never there before. And science nowadays is becoming much more community-based. You just don't sit in your office and think about what I'm going to do, right? If you want to do real impactful science, you get out and you engage with the community and see what the actual problems are. What are their suggestions? Maybe the suggestions don't make sense. Maybe they do, but you should find out, right? And consider them and say, okay, probably makes a lot better, makes more sense than me just sitting in my office trying to figure out what the problem is. So anyways, this is huge right now, and much more so than I've ever seen in my career. And there's always the issue of informing. So anyways, let me stop there. I don't want to go too far overboard here, but any questions, any suggestions on that? Lloyd? I agree 100%, and I'm not sure where we'd go. We don't. Yeah. It matters.
And that is important.
started to change when we launched parts of way and so I think it's a comprehensive effort of everybody to unite.
So what we try to do is learn from the census model, which is like your gauge stress assessment on the ground. You know, they don't know who the state. So there was that model. COVID happened. They took the census, repurposed them to the state interactions and class model of census active everyone versus New York. And I think this is great. One thing I would flag is like the White House and the governor's office are thinking issue for it's a national security issue at this point. Interest. I would push really hard as the White House and as the governor's office that UCR is seen as that's what's going to end up happening is because of dollar sign tax for this work. You're going to have a lot of outside institutions, several across the state government, trying to dominate the issue. So I think it's really important early on right now that the UCR position itself as like the
I think the summit partly fills that role, right? And just before my vision would be to have like a Salton Sea, right? And every other year you have the summit, and then the off years you would do community outreach. You take what the information that you learned from the summit, you go out to high schools, junior highs, and you go to community areas, and you start to disseminate, because so often you hear from the people in the community, we don't know about it. No one communicates with besides. Anyways, great. Yeah, there is this intersection between a couple different agencies, right? There's the State Water Resource Control Board, which has control over, that's the water rights. You know, should this be in queue, like public trust document model, I think it should provide. I think that's the case. But you have the Met in San Diego that don't want water going there, right? Because any additional water that ag gives to the Salton Sea takes water off the table for them in the future. And then you start seeing desal in Huntington Beach looking more attractive, right? In the sense, right? You just saw that the Coastal Commission said no to that Poseidon plant yesterday. And then you've got the California Natural Resources Board, which plays in terms of the land around it, and the federal government owns all the land under the sea. So as the land gets exposed, that's federal government land that's being exposed, that's tribal land that's being exposed. It's this kind of mosaic of it's. Yeah, and there's just, I mean, what I see is I see all these little players, and no one's kind of stepping up and saying, we're going to take the lead in this. Right? Everyone's always kind of.
They're about to, I guarantee.
Yeah.
Someone that's probably
right. Someone has to add the EIFPs were not supposed to pay. This is exactly
exactly. I'm going to take the time. Pass it around. I love that. And that is, kind of this ties back to the conversation that people have about engaging the faculty in the policy making apparatus of Sacramento. When's the last time you went or resources, shared some of this, and started to act more like a government affairs organization and less like a on how to translate academic research into the government space, to take exactly what you're doing here, but then bridge the disconnect between Sacramento. There's a reason why up there and capital basis engagement. And I know it's, you said, we're breaking the but to have that what Jesse said about kind of, controls, you need to, not just you, there needs to be delegations that go to Sacramento, not just for UC1, but specifically you need to share who are committees, share all of the relevant things doing and have an ask too. Not just his ask is, the finance, maybe ask is something else. Maybe it's more than one ask, raise awareness of what you participate, but then have an ask, but make your own, be your own government affair, just the same way as as Southern California has government affairs department, the same way that the Association of Counties has a government affairs department. Your policy research needs to be heard. But that's going to have the effect on yourself, and why we as the board put the deal to allow you to get credit not just for publishing papers, but for actively engaging in the policy process.
But this is what I'm not good at. Or
two things. One, that's why I think we need to. It's great that we're doing this in Riverside. Everyone might be in Sacramento first, because if they don't, you can go to government affairs, everyone end up in policy.
science, and first of all, most of their staff have PhDs. Taking science policy, energy committee, I would consider closely, paper perspective science. How to take whatever the research. There's all kinds of sorry, just last point. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, because I think also, and I've kind of talked to them about this. Do you think there needs to be a class in the program? Because I actually disagree with the because I also think. To get us to the public government. But I just think for this school to such as that we have policy, and I know, I suggested who I work. Just a while ago, but break the gas. My day job now is child development and agriculture. My job is that really great research. So my literal job every day is to take this really long research until I get it. Because no one knows about it much about it.
Thanks. This is more than I could imagine.
Last time I don't. There you go. Basically, what they're about to play.
Yes.
Okay, thank you again, board members, for your presence today. At this time, we will now transition into our special scholarship award lunch and mixer, which will be in the room just over there.